If the Dallas Cowboys want to be a playoff team, they have got to take care of business in games like the one they have this Sunday at the Carolina Panthers. Will they show up to work? We'll answer that and get you ready for another important road game on this episode of the Locked On Cowboys podcast.
You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for listening to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. Reminder that you can follow our show and hear our new episodes ad-free daily on Amazon Music. I am your host, Landon McCool, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Folks, we have a great show for you today, and we are going to dive into the offensive side of the ball to see how Dak and the Cowboys can attack this Panthers defense. And we will, as always, as mandated by law, and the law being obviously Marcus Mosher, we will be making predictions at the end of the show. I hate it. I don't know why I'm doing it, but I'm following through here, even though Marcus isn't here. But first, let's have a conversation about the Dallas defense and what they're going to do against Bryce Young and this Panthers offense. You know, the Panthers offense is kind of middle of the road. You know, they've had a really kind of up and down season. There was a lot of expectations on this offense going into the season after a resurgence from Young near the end of the 2024 season. After being benched early in the 2024 season, they finished strong. There was a lot of expectations. They went into the draft. They get a wide receiver that a lot of Cowboys fans pined for heavily at the 12th pick for Tedero McMillan, but he, of course, didn't make it down to 12. And if he had, there's a high likelihood that he would have been a Dallas Cowboy instead of George Pickens. But as we stand now, as where the Panthers are, there's a little bit middle of the road offense. They have a 47.1% rate, success rate, which is slightly lower than, right, slightly above average, but they are slightly below average in passing success rate, slightly above average running the football. And we saw a lot of that last week, right? As Rico Dowdle, friend of the show and former friend of the Cowboys, ran for over 200 yards rushing, and he's not even necessarily the starter for the Carolina Panthers, as Chuba Hubbard is normally the guy that's getting the kind of bulk of the load there. But Hubbard is out. It was out last week, and it appears will be out again this week. So we will see a lot of Rico Dowdle, and I think that's going to be a huge part of their game plan, because Carolina wants to possess the football. They are currently fourth in the NFL in time of possession margins behind the Bills, Falcons, and Lions. That measures the margin of distance between the two time of possessions. And the Panthers have been doing a lot in trying to possess the football. And I think that's a way to kind of protect their defense a little bit. They're not a team that's going to be out there trying to trade, uppercuts with the Cowboys offense. They're not going to try to go out there, score 35 points a game. So they're going to try to possess the football and keep it close and try to win that way. But the problem is penalties have also been an issue for these guys. They have the second worst penalty margin, which has resulted in the fourth worst penalty yard margin. They're negative 82 yards underwater versus their opponent's penalty yards. And that's going to make it difficult, and it has made it difficult for the Panthers to kind of play that sort of ball possession game. They are good at consistently generating drives. They have almost the exact same 3-and-out percentage rate as the Cowboys. And I think that all stems from the fact that the Panthers offense is very good on first downs. They have the fourth highest success rate on first down in the NFL at 50%. And funny enough, the Jets are the number one team in this category with a whopping 56.1% first down success rate. So first down is by far their best passing down, and frankly their best running down as well. The Cowboys have got to have a plan for how to attack that, how they're going to deal with this team on first down. Because I think if you can find a way to find success on first down, they're a little bit middling on second down. And then if you can get them to third down, this is really where you're able to kind of make things happen against this offense. They're just not great on third down. Young has a 34.6% success rate. He's underwater on the EPA per drop back. He's only averaging he's got a 53% completion rate on third down. So the Cowboys have got to find ways to win on first and second down, which has not been an easy affair at certain points with the Panthers. If they could find a way to limit big plays early on and keep everything in front of them. I do think that this is a Panthers team that's not necessarily going to want to get into a shootout with the Cowboys because they're going to have their own defensive pass rush and pass defense issues that we'll talk about a little bit later. For the Cowboys, they've got to find a way to kind of get this run defense going against what is a pretty solid offensive line. They may be missing Taylor Mouton, who missed, I think, last week, but has been dealing with a series of injuries. A really talented, left tackle. I'm sorry, right. He plays right tackle. And then they've got Icky, a guy that you may have remembered from draft periods. A couple. I think Icky was a first round pick in the 2023 draft. But again, they just have really, really talented tackles. They've solidified the interior of that offensive line a little bit as well. In 2022 draft for Iquanu. Damian Lewis, Cade Mays, Brady Christensen, all three of these guys have played good football so far this year. They are going to continue to try to rely on the run game because of the success that they had last week. Rico Dowdle has already come out and tried to start some stuff. And that to me indicates that he thinks that he's going to have a heavy role in trying to, score these points, keep possession of the ball, and try to keep the Dallas offense off the field by running the football, converting easily, try to get easy conversions to try to keep drives going, long possessions in order to stretch the game out and try to limit the number of possessions. Because I think if this gets into a situation where it's a high possession game, I think that's where the Panthers will lose control of this game without a doubt. So for them, it's going to be a game about possession. Make sure that Young is in easy to convert situations. Don't make him get into third down. This is obviously the Panthers. That's what their game plan is. They don't want to get him into third down. They want him, getting big chunks on first down, easy completions for conversions on second and third down. Don't get into a situation where you're having to get into a long down a distance to throw the football. And it's not so much that they have problems protecting. I mean, I think, sacks have been a relative issue, but not like overwhelming issue for this team. I think the issue is more that they don't have a ton of pass catchers to go downfield and make plays. If it's not Tetron McMillan, Xavier Legette has been really up and down. Hunter Renfrow is a guy that they signed like right before the season started and was basically retired before this. So they have some issues in the wide receiver room outside of their first round pick. And if you focus a lot of attention on Tetron McMillan and you make them win in other spots with their tight ends, which are, Marcus is a big fan of Tommy Tremble, but I don't know that he's necessarily moved the needle. Sanders is not a guy that's going to threaten you down the field too much. So they want to avoid having to throw the ball down the field, not so much necessarily because they're worried about pass protection, but they're worried about their ability to be able to have guys to create separation down the field and actually do something with the on third downs and long to be able to convert. They have struggled there. So look for the Cowboys to try to get them in those situations, try to make them throw the football, obvious passing down situations. Obviously, game script will help with that. And we'll talk about that. How can the Cowboys get into that game script that forces the Panthers to throw the ball? We'll talk about that next. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 HVAC and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Want to avoid a false start on your project? Need parts fast? Supply House has next day delivery. Talk about a game changer. Join the Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHNFL5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. And the Cowboys offense going on the road clearly is going to want to, and they've had some success previously running the football. And that's one of the ways that they're going to want to try to just kind of stabilize this game. They feel like they're probably the more talented of the two teams. They want to be able to run on this Carolina's defense in order to kind of keep the balance, keep the fans out of the game. It just provides a level of stability that makes it easier to play on the road. And it's good to get that kind of physicality going in the game early in order to kind of get Cowboys rolling and have a fast start, which is another thing that we want to see the Cowboys do. Like there is a lot of that we want to see the Cowboys do in this game against a team that is probably one of the last teams the Cowboys are going to face in which they are, even close to being favored. Right now, the line is technically Carolina +3. They're playing at home. So that's, I think, they're basically implying that the Cowboys are the favorites here. I think that, the Cowboys run defense the Panthers run defense is good, but it could be a mixed bag, right? The Cowboys will have to find a way to kind of get around the defensive tackles that the Carolina will put out there. They have a kind of a trio of guys that they put out there. Obviously Derek Brown from Auburn War Eagle is the highlight there. He's developed into one of the best run stuffing defensive tackles in all of football. They've got Ashawn Robinson now, who's also kind of playing. They do sort of 3-4 stuff a little bit, but they mostly play in nickel and dime packages. But they are going to use these defensive tackles, as well as Bobby Brown, who they signed from the Rams, was a guy that a lot of Cowboys fans were looking at as potentially someone that they could have signed as a nose tackle to kind of help stop the run. So they have guys on the interior that they can trust and rely on a little bit to kind of help them try to dictate things on the Cowboys a little bit. And we'll see. I mean, Tyler Smith is hopefully back in this game, so you're going to get a little bit stronger there. We think that Tyler Booker is likely still another week away, as well as CeeDee Lamb. So you're going to see Brock Hoffman. You're going to see TJ Bass, who have played very well. And this is another challenge interior-wise to face the likes of Robinson, Brown, and then Bobby Brown as well. On the outside, on the edge, it's a different story. And I think that that's where the Cowboys are going to try to make some hay, to have some success. The two kind of edge players that they have are Pat Jones and DJ Wanham. And so far this season, they haven't had a ton of success, as pass rushers. They've been okay as run defenders. It looks like, just kind of glancing off of PFF metrics from what I've seen, and just kind of casually what I've seen of the Carolina tape. They're bigger bodied guys, like they're 254, 260, edge guys that are also, they're playing next to 300-pound guys. So there is some thought that they should be, a little bit more solid in the run game. But I do think the Cowboys are going to be able to attack the edges in the run game and find ways to get big chunks, especially since that second level of that Carolina defense doesn't look as solidified as the defensive interior. If the Cowboys can break things loose, get Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, Blue loose on the second level, they should be able to create big chunks that way, and that will open things up in the pass game as well, obviously. So I do think that is a way to attack this team. And again, if they're going to play in nickel and dime personnel, which is then they play something like 90% in nickel and dime packages. If they're going to do that, you can run the football and you should be able to have some success, even if they have two of those big hog mollies inside. You should be able to find ways to get some success running the football and then creating play action pass and attacking them that way. The corner situation is interesting. Obviously, J.C. Horn is a first-round pick, a guy that they liked a lot. And they have a couple other younger guys. It's a very young defensive backfield. Trevor Moehrig is a kind of talented safety that they signed. He's in the back end. But outside of that, it's a lot of young guys that are kind of inexperienced, and they just by the Panthers way that they play defense, you could tell that they're trying to avoid overexposing these guys. They're playing a bunch of zone coverage. They're not blitzing guys. They're trying to just kind of keep it all in front of them. Frankly, it reminds me a lot of what the Cowboys were doing early on with their secondary, of just basically trying to hide them and being afraid to kind of do too much. Again, Panthers also don't blitz a lot. So, but they've had real problems rushing the passer. Panthers are dead last in sacks. They're dead last in defensive EPA earned by sacks. They're second to last in pressures. I mean, folks have been complaining about the Cowboys, sack and pressure situation. The Panthers through 5 games have as many sacks as the Cowboys had through 4 games. They have as many sacks as the Cowboys had last week. They have 5 sacks right now. So the pass rush is not an issue, right? Or at least it hasn't been so far. If they aren't blitzing, and DJ Wanham and Pat Jones are coming after you just in a straight 4-man drop, and you could block up this interior, which, again, that's the thing. These guys are run stuffers on the interior. They're not necessarily great pass rushers. So if you can block them up front, there should be lots of opportunity against a young secondary, even without CeeDee Lamb again this week. Even with Pickens going against J.C. Horn, there should be plenty of opportunity to throw the football. I think Jake Ferguson and the tight ends could have another big day because of the tight end situation that we just talked about. Even though Trevor Moehrig is a good safety, it's a lot, and having to kind of keep track of all of that. We'll see how that all pans out. And again, another opportunity for guys like Fenoy and Tolbert to kind of go out there and to prove their worth a little bit more. And we'll see exactly what the running back situation is too. But if it's Jaden Blue, maybe there's some opportunity for him to expose these linebackers in coverage, create something out of the space that's being provided by the deeper routes down the field. I do think that this is a situation where this is a little bit better of a run defense than some of the other teams that we've played. Maybe not Philadelphia, but a little bit better than probably the Jets. So they may present a little bit of a challenge, but the Cowboys have got to find a way to get that run game going, just to kind of continually present a balanced attack. I do think that will kind of keep things off going. And look, I mean, they're going to play a bunch of zone coverage. They're going to kind of keep things in front of them, but the Cowboys are going to have opportunities. There's no one on this team that can really generate quick pressures. Like we said, Pat Jones and DJ Wanham lead the team in pass rushes. They have 4 and 3 quick pressures being pressures that occur under 3 seconds. So 4 and 3 and through 5 games is not a ton, right? For reference, Fowler has 11, and Kenny Clark and Donovan Ezeraku both have 6. So these are not guys that are getting off the ball quickly and creating quick pressures. Dak should have opportunity to throw the football, to scan the field, to make the quick decision. So if the Cowboys can, continually keep a balanced attack, they should have time for throwing the football whenever they decide to throw the football. Dak should be able to move the football on this team, even if they're going to try to keep things in front of them a little bit. There should be plenty of opportunities for the Cowboys in the run game and also in the passing game if they're able to just block it up and let things develop a little bit more down the field. All right, we've kind of reached the end of this, and guys, we are going to do our predictions next, so make sure you stick around for that. It's again required by law. I know Marcus is watching, so prediction time coming up next. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets back if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love betting on game day. I love, getting an itch and getting a feeling and then hopping on and making a bet. It just gives a little bit extra edge when you're sitting on the couch watching 12 games at once. You pick one out, you want to put some money down, and hopefully it gives you a little bit more zest to your Sunday afternoons. And whether you're a casual fan or loving diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. It makes football watching even more exciting when you've got a little bit of something riding on the action. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, and it is time to talk about predictions, guys. Look, here's the thing. If you look at the injury list, It is not heartening. It is incredibly long. It is incredibly deep, and there's lots of different folks on there with a lot of different stuff. And I think that we should break that down a little bit because it has just been kind of a roller coaster trying to follow this thing. First of all, there's some interesting names that are on here that have entered the 21-day return period, and we talked about these guys a little bit. Kalen Carson being one of them. He had a knee injury that has kind of just lingered a little bit. The timeline of things got a little bit murky from what we understand, but it sounds like he's practiced fully these last few days. The other more interesting one is Jonathan Mingo, who entered his 21-day practice period as well. But he, after practicing yesterday, he was a DNP today. Yesterday. I'm interested to see exactly what the situation with him is because, whenever you see that kind of situation where it's a day on and then a day off, does that mean that there was a setback? Is that part of the plan? It does seem a little odd to kind of open up the 21-day period, go through a practice, and then pull him back for a scheduled reason. It feels like maybe something got re-aggravated or there was a bad reaction to the practice. We're kind of waiting for more information there. And on top of that, we've heard Tyler Guyton, it feels like, is going to be back this week. It sounds like he may have cleared the concussion protocol. He was a full participant on Thursday's practice, which is a good sign for him playing. The Cowboys obviously got what they needed out of Nate Thomas, who performed admirably, but it's going to be nice to get him back. Tyler Smith is a guy that we also talked about, right? Having the tendonitis in his knee, was a game time decision last week. I mean, even I think was dressed out, but just was an emergency backup. Sounds like they were trying to be cautious there, and it worked out to their advantage. Hopefully, sounds like he will be back this week. Looking at the rest of the list, Donovan Wilson was another guy that was injured, had an elbow and a knee situation. He did not practice on Wednesday. He did practice on Thursday. So that gives you a little bit of more hope that maybe he's going to be out there if you need him. I think Marquise Bell is clearly the guy that is going to be taking over for him if he cannot make it. Miles Sanders was actually another guy who was limited knee and ankle. He was hurt last week. They tried him out on Wednesday, and then he was practicing on a limited basis and then didn't practice again or on Thursday. So that could open things up for another week of Jaden Blue coming in and being the sort of primary backup running back to Williams whenever he needs a spell. So that's an interesting thing to note. And then finally, I guess the last thing I kind of wanted to bring up here was Marshawn Nealon, a guy that missed last week. It appears that he is making his way towards potentially playing. He was limited the last two days. I think that we'll see if he practices today on Friday. But if he does, I would imagine that he's likely going to play in this game. They're probably going to need him a little bit more since they're not going to have someone like Sanborn. You need all the help you can have on the run, as run defenders on the defensive side. Obviously, Sanborn is a linebacker, but I think as far as his value, it's more in the run game than in the pass game. So lots of injuries, lots of things to kind of work through there. And then on the Panthers side of things, Taylor Mouton was the guy that we talked about. He's dealing with an elbow injury. He's their long-term starting right tackle. We'll see if he's able to make it. He wasn't able to make it last year. Chuba Hubbard, again, we talked about, was out previously with a calf injury. That's what allowed Rico to kind of break it open for 27. It was 220 something yards, I think, if I remember correctly. That's. Even if he's out, obviously we're going to get a face full of angry Rico. And then Caleb Evans was another kind of young corner. I mean, like we mentioned, they play a ton of nickel and dime stuff. So them being down one of their kind of better corners, Mike Jackson was another one who did practice. So it does look like he's going to play, but they're a little bit banged up in the corner rooms. So they're a couple of their guys are going to play. And then last guy is Jalen Coker, who they've been missing for quite a while. They were really super excited about coming into the season. Had a great preseason. It looks like he is a full go. We'll see if he actually dresses up for this week. Prediction time. I mean, just keeping all this in mind, I'm going to pick the Cowboys to win 28-21. I just think that they have, earned the benefit of a doubt at this point. And, maybe they're going to let me down, but I think that this, even though this is exactly the kind of game that I would label as a trap game. I would say you got to worry about this game. I just feel like this Cowboys team might be a little bit different, and maybe I'm going to be completely let down. Maybe we'll see the signs of the sluggish start stuff that we've seen with this team in the past, but it feels like Schottenheimer has kind of figured something out with this team on getting them up for these, early slot East Coast games, which they've traditionally struggled to kind of get up for. And I think the Cowboys are going to just kind of grab hold of this game early and control it. It may not be a huge blowout, but I think controlling it start to finish is a good way to win a road game. And I think the Cowboys likely are going to figure this out early. And just use Dak Prescott to score and use Javonte Williams in the run game to kind of finish this out and strangle this game out. Cowboys are a more talented team, so I'm picking them again. 28-21, I think is what I said. Yeah. So there you go. Marcus, I hope you're happy. I have fulfilled our obligations for this show. Thank you for making the Locked On Cowboys your first listen of the day. The NFL season is finally here. So for your second listen, get a double dose of the Locked On NFL podcast. Tyler, the Madman Rowland, gives you a shot of espresso to start your day, while Tony Wiggins takes you to the barber's shop for the smoothest breakdowns to the end of the day. Find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Thank you guys, and go Cowboys, and we'll see you. Be right back here to review the game on Sunday night. We'll see you then.